Hello again, and welcome to the Interchange Book 3 video series. Today we're going to do Unit 16. And in Unit 16, we're going to talk about accomplishments and goals. Now, accomplishments are things you have done in your life, things that you are proud of, so big things that you have done. And goals are things that you want to do eventually. So aspirations and things that you want to do eventually. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, so let's look at this situation. So here we have a grandfather and his grandson. So this is Grandpa Joe and his grandson Alex. Alex saw his grandpa looking at a piece of paper and asked him about it. Grandpa Joe explains to him that it is a list of things that he wanted to do in his life when he was a young man. Grandpa Joe reflects on the things he accomplished and also asks Alex about his goals in life. So, let's listen to their conversation.
Hey, Grandpa, what are you looking at there?
This here? Well, this here is my bucket list.
A bucket list? What's that?
Well, a bucket list is a list of things that you want to do in your life before you die. You make it to see your goals, and then you check them off once you've accomplished them. I started making mine when I was a young man like yourself.
So, what have you done on the list?
Let's see here. Yes. Well, I was able to graduate college, and I managed to start my own business.
That's pretty cool. What else have you done?
I guess my biggest accomplishment was that I managed to get married to a lovely woman like your grandmother, and that we were able to make a family together. Recently, I've been able to take a boat trip in the Mediterranean Ocean, and I've taken you grandkids on fishing trips every summer since you were old enough.
Yeah, we always have so much fun. So, is there anything you haven't been able to do yet?
Oh, sure, lots of things. There's plenty that I hope to do one day. I still have some time left, you know. For example, in the next year, I'd like to have started to learn guitar. You know, it's important to always have goals in life, Alex. Why don't we start a bucket list for you? So, what are some things that you've always wanted to do?
I don't know, Grandpa. I've never thought about my goals, I guess.
Well, let's start with something easy. For example, where's somewhere that you would like to have visited before you're an old man like me?
Well, I've always been interested in New Zealand, so I guess I would like to have gone there eventually.
Okay, that's a start. What about fun stuff? Is there anything you've wanted to try? What is something you hope to have done in the next 5 years?
I don't know. I like the ocean and fish and stuff, so I hope I will have gone scuba diving or snorkeling.
There you go. It's easy, huh? Now, why don't you go and make your list, and then we'll see what I can do to help you accomplish some of them. How's that sound?
Sounds good, Grandpa. I'll go start it right now.
Okay, so let's take a look at our grammar today. Now, after listening to that conversation, we heard Grandpa Joe talk about some of his accomplishments in the past. So remember, accomplishments are things that you have done that you are proud of, things that were important for you, and things that you did in the past. Okay? Those are accomplishments. So when we use accomplishments, we often use these two verbs. We say manage to and the main verb, and also be able to and the main verb. And when we use this in connection with the main verb, it makes our sentence sound like it is to be fortunate to do something, so that we are fortunate or that we are lucky to do that. Okay? Almost like it was difficult to do. Not easy to do, but we did it. So we were fortunate to do something, right? So let's look at some of the accomplishments he used. Now, using the simple past tense, he says, I managed to start my own business. And here we're using that managed to in the past tense to talk about starting his own business. Now, he was fortunate to start his own business. It was an important thing for him, right? Or he said, I was able to graduate college. Again, here we're using that be able to in the past tense with was able to, and then the base form of the verb, graduate. And that means that graduating college was something important for him, okay? Or maybe it wasn't exactly easy for him to do, but he did it. So those are the examples where we just used a simple past tense to talk about accomplishments, using managed to and was able to. Now, if I have a recent or even maybe a current accomplishment, something that I'm still doing, right? I can use the present perfect for that. So remember, the present perfect is have or has, depending on the subject, and then the past participle for the main verb. So let's look at what this looks like. He said, I have been able to take a boat trip in the Mediterranean. So that was a recent accomplishment, not that long ago. So here I'm using the present perfect. I have been, right, able to. So remember, I'm using my have for the auxiliary, and from be and be able to, I'm using the past participle of be. So I'm saying I have been able to take, and take is in the normal base form verb, just like we did up here. So I've been able to take a boat trip in the Mediterranean is a recent accomplishment. Okay? What about this one? I've managed to take my grandkids on fishing trips. Okay? So in this context, it's something that he still does. He does this every summer. And he's using the present perfect with the auxiliary have, and then the past participle of manage, which is managed, and then of course the base form of the verb. So I've managed to take my grandkids on fishing trips is an accomplishment that he is still doing. Okay. Okay, so now let's look at goals for the future. So if we remember, goals are things that you want to do one day. Things you aspire to do. Things that you want to accomplish in the future, eventually. So those are goals. Now, we can talk about our goals just using the basic future by saying things like this. I hope I will go to New Zealand one day, right? So that's the basic future. I will go, right, to New Zealand one day. But one day is very general. I want to know when. When do you want to go to New Zealand? When will you accomplish this? Now, if I want to be specific about this, I can use a different form of the future, and I can say something like this. I hope I will have gone to New Zealand before I'm old. So now I know when. Before I'm old, I hope I will have gone to New Zealand. And this type of future, will have gone, is what we call the future perfect. And the future perfect is specific. It's very specific for when something will be completed in the future, right? So let's look at the equation for the future perfect. We use will, or we can use would like to. Then we use the perfect tense, which is have for the auxiliary and a past participle. But what's important to know about the future perfect is that you need to talk about a second action in the future. Just like here we said before I'm old, right? We need to use some sort of reference of a second thing that happens after the future perfect. So for example, by the time and before, we both use for a time or an action in the future. So we use before to say before I'm old. Or you could say by the time I am 50. So that's very important to know that when I use the future perfect, right, I'm using the future perfect as a first action that happens. So if I say, I hope I will have gone, that's my first action. I hope I will have gone to New Zealand before, and then my second action. And before is when I'm talking about before I'm old. And that's the second action, right? So before I'm old, I hope I will have gone to New Zealand. That's how we use the future perfect. But we can say this in a different way. We could say, I would like to have gone to New Zealand within 5 years. So again, I'm just using would like to, and then the perfect tense, have gone, right? Now, when I use within 5 years, within is used for a duration of time in the future. So if I look at this from now into 5 years in the future, I'm thinking in that amount of time, in those 5 years, right? I would like to have gone to New Zealand. So we're using two actions when we talk about the future perfect. One is the goal that we want, or one is the thing and the action that's going to happen in the future. And that happens before our second action, or in this amount of time. So we use those with things like by the time, before, and within, or in. Okay, so I hope that was helpful in understanding how we use accomplishments and the grammar to talk about things that we did in the past or things that we have done in the past that were important for us, but also for the goals in the future, things that we want to accomplish one day, and specifically how we use that with the future perfect. Alright guys, thanks for listening and good luck.